What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another fantastic episode of the Tightlines Podcast. Today, we're going to talk about tackle organization and specifically how I spent 5 to 10 hours in the last 2 weeks of my life completely reorganizing all of my tackle for both my bass fishing endeavors and catfishing, which are my two main target species here. We will discuss how I planned my reorganization, how I prepared to actually organize it, and then how I actually did it. We will break it down from top to bottom, left to right. You guys will have the full insight here. We'll also discuss how I feel this has helped me so far, and if I even see issues with how this might affect me in the future, and how I may need to eventually reorganize, because that is something I've already thought about. So go ahead and sit back, grab some popcorn, and enjoy this week's episode of the Tightlines Podcast. Welcome to the Tightlines Podcast, your destination for anything fishing. Now here's your host, Tyler Plackey. So tackle organization is something that almost every angler does. And the keyword there is almost, because there are some anglers who just have heaps of tackle and they kind of just hope to find what they want. They have a huge bag and they throw all their stuff in there. They have their worms, their crankbaits, their blade baits, everything just under the sun in one bag. That isn't me. I'm an organized person. Heck, I spend a ton of time each week writing each episode for the podcast. So I don't run blank and ruin the tempo of the show when I actually record it. I, sit here and have a lot of notes written out for myself. And so I can kind of put together a nice episode for you guys. And so when it comes to tackle, I organize for many reasons. Reason number one, and the most important reason for me, is that so when I'm fishing, I know what I have and where I have it, so I can be as efficient as possible with my time. My time is valuable. I work a lot. I have the podcast I do. I edit videos for my YouTube. I spend time with my fiance and my dog and the rest of my family. So I don't always get a ton of time to fish, right? I don't get, 40 hours a week to go fish like some other people do. I maybe get a couple. So when I get that time to fish, I don't want to spend a good portion of that time hunting around for a crankbait or a trick worm or a fluke or whatever it might be. I want to know where it is. So when I need it, I've got it. The second reason I organize my tackle is honestly for money saving purposes. Why would I want to buy gear that I've already got, even when I don't know I have it? That was something I encountered very early on in fishing. Is I was starting to stockpile some tackle, and I'd be at the store and I could use another pack of trick worms, and come home and well, I already have a pack in that exact color. Why did I buy that pack? Fishing gear is very expensive. It's gotten rather expensive, especially like everything else. You know, plastics that used to be, $2.50 or $3 a pack are $7 now. Crankbaits are, 14. We have jerk baits that are $25 and glide baits are $300. So I don't want to be buying multiple things that I've already got when I don't really need to have it. The third and final reason I organize my tackle is honestly because it gives me something to do. Here in central Indiana during the winter, our ponds freeze. I don't, it's not enough ice to, walk on and ice fish, at least safely. And I don't really have access to a lot of water around me that, like rivers or creeks that aren't frozen, especially due to the environment that I'm in. Indiana is a very dry state overall. We've got the White River nearby, got the Wabash River and the Ohio River, and that's really about it in the area. And the Ohio River is 2 hours, the Wabash is an hour and a half, and I'm still 35 minutes down to the White River. So there's not a ton of spots for me to go fish that aren't right in my backyard. So for me, when I can't go out and fish and can't, actually do anything truly fishing, I like to have something to do. And tinkering with my tackle is often an excellent way for me to continue to be part of fishing, even if I'm not actually, actively catching fish. So, we've covered why I organize my tackle. Now we must discuss the entire process. We're going to begin with my planning, move on to the preparation, and finally how I did it. So, planning, phase one. For my bass fishing, I utilized the Plano Guide Series 7771 tackle box. It's a big Guide Series plastic tackle box. It holds a couple trays. You guys have heard me talk about it before. And that's what I use for my bass fishing. And for my cat fishing, I have now switched over to, it's called the Plano 732. It holds a couple 3,700 size trays, a couple 3,600 size trays. And I wanted to make sure that the planning phases were the same for each. So first thing I did is I took inventory of what I had, starting with what boxes I had, starting then going into the trays, what tackle did I have, what weights, what line, anything I would need for fishing. And then I figured out what I needed, how I was going to do this. So I had to figure out, how do I want to separate tackle boxes? How did it all fit into my boxes themselves? And what I would really need to get this done. So for the 7771 box, I knew I needed 6 additional tackle trays. And those are the 3700 size thin pro latch boxes. Um, you guys heard me talk about them on the Black Friday episode. I got them on a nice deal. That's why I ordered them. And excuse my sniffling. I think I'm getting sick. So fun for me. I bought them, like I said, on Black Friday. It's a great deal there. Go listen to that episode if you want to hear about it. And I knew I needed some different trays for my 732 box, and I ordered those as well. I needed trays for weights and hooks and terminal tackle and floats and rigs and so much more. So that is how I kind of did my pre-planning, information there. And again, I'm really sorry about the sniffling. This literally hit me in like the last 5 minutes, it feels like. So hopefully I'm not getting sick. Moving on to preparation, which kind of began after the ordering. I then took full inventory of what I had and separated it out. Tore down my huge bait wall that's in the garage. I have a nice 4x4 pegboard wall in the garage. I have a shelf out there, actually a couple shelves. Took everything off, empty drawers, dumped it all out, every bag, every box, every container, every whatever you could think of that I had fishing lures and hooks and weights and everything in the world in, and dumped it on the floor in my spare bedroom, which pissed off my fiance, but it's all okay. And began to organize it by type, brand, color, just so I knew what I had. And then once the boxes came in, that's when the work started. So we're going to go over kind of how I organized these boxes, starting with the 7771 box and then going to the 732. So again, that 7771 box is a ton of numbers. That's my bass box, okay? So for the bass box, I now have a total of 14 of these Pro Lash 3700 size thin stowaway boxes. And then 5 of the 3500 boxes, which are the small ones that fit within the other compartments of this box. So here's how I organized the 3700 size boxes I've got. One of them is strictly topwater bait. So frogs, spooks, poppers, whopper ploppers, devil's horses. Nothing, I didn't put any buzz baits in here just because I have a separate spot in there. I can put buzz baits and spinner baits for like a wire bait thing over on the side. So I'm not worried about that. So that's what went in box number 1. Box number 2 was pre-rigged soft body swim baits and glide baits. So here we're talking about Nessies and call shads, mag drafts, final copies, anything like that, stuff that kind of came pre-rigged, kind of bigger stuff overall, honestly, not going super small here. Number 3 was my fluke box, and this was separated by color. So I have all my brands in there. I mostly just fish the Zoom Super Fluke. I think it's a great fluke. I think it works great. It's, good price, nice colors. So I kind of fish those mostly. Next box, on box number 4 here, was our crawl box. Similar setup to the fluke box, separated by brand and color. Have some empty spaces in both those, so you can still fill those out a little more, which I'm excited about. But, again, you guys can kind of see where I'm going. I really took my time and broke stuff apart. Then I had 2 boxes of trick worms. Yes, I know, 2 boxes of trick worms is a lot. I love my trick worms, okay? I love throwing on spinning gear. It's finesse fishing. Fish in the Midwest. That's kind of what we do up here, okay? One of them is solely for my Zoom trick worms. I love my Zoom trick worms. I have like 10 or 12 different colors of them. I think, obviously this one can only hold 10 because there's, 10 slots. And then the other one is for different brands and different sizes from the traditional Zoom trick worm. So there is now 7 of our boxes, of our 14. Box number 8 was my box of jigs. This one had football jigs and swim jigs and flipping jigs and bladed jigs and, archy head jig, whatever type jig you can think of. If it's a jig, it's in this box, right? We're talking jigs. We're not talking jig heads where it's just like the ball-headed jig and the hook that goes on a plastic. I'm talking like a true jig with a skirt or a blade or something here. Not terminal tackle. Box number was 9 now is our box of jerk baits. A little struggle with, getting all the jerk baits in there. Definitely had to leave a couple out. I'm hoping I can get a product soon that is going to help with that. Same with the crankbaits, which we'll talk about in a minute. This box is solely my jerk baits. Got a ton of them in there, a ton of different brands, cool colors to try out. A lot of stuff coming that way. Box number 10 now, I believe. Let's see, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep, box number 10 was my box of crankbaits. This includes square bills and rattle traps and circuit boards and lipless. And deep divers, I don't have any deep divers, but some middle divers I've got. Anything that's deemed a true crankbait. Box number 11 was my box of paddle tails, mostly Kitex, just because I had that huge deal on Kitex. Again, go back to that Black Friday episode. You can see all the Kitex I got, but I also had some Big Joshy in there, some other brands of swim baits I've had sitting around here. Box number 12 was my box of oversized worms. I don't remember if I talked about my Senko box, but I did have a whole box of Senkos. I don't feel like I mentioned that one. I feel like somehow I skipped that one, but I did do a full box of Senkos. But not box number 12 was my oversized worms. Anything longer than 6 inches. This includes like I have a couple like the Yum 12-inch long worms. Some like the really long like Busa worms from 6 cents that have like their 10-inch long ribbon tails, stuff like that. Just kind of the oddities and stuff that doesn't normally fit with the rest of them, but are too big for the 3,500 boxes. And the 13th of my 14 boxes was my creature bait and the lizard. So mostly just my like reptile box. Obviously stuff like beaver tails went in with the craws. This is more of like the lizard box than anything else. Kind of grown to love the Zoom lizards. So as you can tell, that's 13 boxes, and I told you I bought 14. Well, guess what? I got an extra box, so it's great. So hopefully I'm going to fill that up soon. Figure out what else I want to do with that, because you'll hear now how I divided up my 3,500 size boxes. The first one was for tubes and tube heads. I like the tube fish. They're fun, especially for smallmouth around here. They're going to be great. So tubes on the left, or tube heads on the left side, a couple different sizes, and then tubes throughout the rest of it. Next one was a box for Ned rigs and Ned heads. Again, trying to keep everything together into one. The next box was for all my weights, worm weights, drop, split shots, drop shots, stuff like that. Next box was for hooks. This consisted solely of EWGs, EWG screw locks, and weighted screw lock EWGs, and then obviously any weighted EWGs. I don't really fish a straight shank worms. Sorry, guys. Boy, I was a tongue twister. I just don't fish those. Not my fave, honestly. I like EWGs. And finally, I had one more box for just assorted other tackle. Stuff just kind of didn't fit in with the rest. So if I had like some Nico hooks or wacky hooks or, the little O-rings for wacky rigs, stuff like that just kind of fit in there, and just random stuff. These all went in the top compartment of my box, leaving me still space for 3 more of these in that bottom compartment. So I can use this for space now for camera gear too, if I'd want to, for when I go out and record. Snacks, bags of soft plastics, or anything else that I really want. The only issue I have come up with so far is not really having enough space to bring everything I would want to bring with me, which is why this year I'm going to focus a lot on minimizing what I bring on trips and kind of solely focusing on what I think is going to be the bite for the day. I don't need to take in one trip, frogs and spooks and jerk baits and crankbaits and trick worms and Senkos and craws and jigs and, oversized worms and glide baits and creature baits, right? You don't need everything. Just kind of take what you're going to fish that day and move on. I want to be able to make small micro adjustments rather than complete switching techniques. This also helped me, narrow down how many rods I'm bringing with me. Hopefully only have to bring 2 rods at a time. I don't really want to, you don't want to bank fish with 3 or 4 rods plus a big tackle box and all this stuff, because then you're kind of just standing in one place and it's too much of a pain to move. The rest of my soft plastics, hard baits, terminal tackle, and everything else is now stored in my garage, just how it was before, but redone. Going back to that pegboard wall that I have, that's where most of my hard baits and soft plastics are hanging up at. Have them again organized by brand, color, size, stuff like that, so it's easy to find what I've got. Looks like a store. It's really cool. I also have a 3-drawer storage box that I keep for like line and miscellaneous stuff. Plus, I have a shelf that has 2 of the Flambeau half satchels for plastics. One of those is fully filled to the brim with Senkos. Couldn't fit another worm in there if I tried. Ton of Senkos. Don't need to buy any more Senkos for a while. And the other one is a combo of flukes and trick worms, and paddle tails, and whatever else I could fit in it. In there is where I store 70, my 3,700 boxes, alongside these satchels, of all the other stuff that I'm not bringing with me while I fish. Those sit on the shelf over my fishing table, so it's all easy to find and access. And honestly, this has worked out really, really well so far. All right, moving on to my catfish setup. This goes back now to that 732 box we were talking about previously. So again, everything we just heard before was all bass fishing. That was 13 minutes of bass fishing. I'm going to give you a couple minutes of catfishing. I'll give you my final thoughts and we'll be done with this episode. Don't want to keep you guys waiting around for too long. So this box holds 3 of the normal Pro Latch 3700 size boxes, the ones that we all know and love. I utilized one of the normal 4-row boxes solely for hooks. I have a ton of hooks in there, every size, every brand. I've got some, treble hooks for dough bait. I've got, 10-aught octopus hooks, all sorts of great stuff. And then I have two of the what I call 3-row boxes, right? So these boxes have the two normal size top rows, and the bottom row is the size of 2 rows. And this allows me to fit bigger stuff in that bottom row, especially stuff that's kind of, weights, hint, hint, floats, other stuff like that. So one of the boxes is used for weights. I can, like I said, hold bigger weights in the bottom of the large rows, and then, use the other boxes for, terminal tackle. So, but going to the weights box real quick. So what I've got in there, and what I'm also going to be ordering, so I got to order some more weights, but I've got bank sinker weights, coin weights, I like the long tubular weights, pyramid weights, egg sinkers, just pretty much anything and everything I can think of that I might need while I'm out there, especially because catfishing isn't the only thing I do. If I'm out there on a fish for carp, I can take this if I'm fishing for, maybe spoonbill at some point. I've thought of spoonbill fishing over in Illinois. So just kind of want to have a box I can just take with me for anything that's really a bigger fish, if that makes sense. And then the other box is used for terminal tackle. So we're looking at swivels and clips for weights and floats and rattles, beads, bobber stops, kind of whatever I can think of that would just need to go in there. This one may not always be full, but it's going to be a nice box to have. And then on each side of the box of this big 70 or 732, I've got a 3600 size box. One of them is a fully rowless container. This one's for large items that don't really fit in the other boxes. This can be for stuff, like pliers and larger rattles and just kind of miscellaneous items, honestly. And the other one is just a standard 3600 box. And that's where I'm just going to put in pre-tied rigs. So I like to pre-tie my rigs, so I'm not spending time tying rigs out there, so I can have stuff for catfish radio, carp ready to go. Whatever I've got, whatever I'm going to go fish for that day, I've kind of got rigs already tied. So if I do happen to break off, I'm not spending 10 minutes tying another rig. It's already ready to throw back on and get right back out there. So that is how I set up all of my catfish and, carp and anything else I might be fishing for there. Again, a nice box, easy to throw in the wagon. The top of it, I can keep extra line. I can keep my scissors. It's going to be a really good setup, I believe. So this, like I said, really nice setup so far. The last box I had for catfishing was just a little too small to hold everything I needed with me. I felt like I was really minimizing what I could really take overall, and it felt like, I'd get out there, and, I had a couple instances where I'd be out on the White River, and I had 6 ounces of weight with me, and it's like, great, I can tie on a 6-ounce weight. I throw it out there, and I can't get it to sit on the bottom. I'm like, man, I wish I had space for an 8 or 10-ounce weight. Again, I've got gear that can throw this stuff, which is good, but just kind of, I felt like I was too compressed with that box. I had thought about selling that box and finding a different one, but I'd had that 732 box sitting around. I bought it last year, almost a little over a year ago already. Bought it actually off Facebook, and I did a whole YouTube series about it too, so go ahead and check that out on my YouTube. But I figured, why not reincorporate that into a catfishing box? I thought about using it for bass, but it took a different type of tray. I didn't want to be switching my trays around. It was just kind of annoying. So I just decided to, to heck with it. We're going to make this our catfish box. Honestly, I think it's going to serve me well as time progresses. The only concern that I have, again, overall with all this is just I've got stuff separated out almost too much at times, where we'll just have to see how that works out for me. Again, they're bigger boxes, so a little bit heavier to take, but it's not a huge deal for me. It's a good workout, I guess. So, all right, everybody, that's going to be this week's episode for you all. Hope you guys have enjoyed the episode. And if you have, please be sure to drop us a positive review on whatever podcast platform you tune in with. We're on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Amazon Podcast. Drop us a follow, drop us a like, drop us a sub, whatever you can do. Also, please be sure to drop us, like I said, that positive review. It really helps the algorithm to keep growing the platform. We're getting more and more viewers every week, and it's been great. It's been a ton of fun to see. So I really appreciate your help in that. Also, please sure to drop me a follow and check out my Instagram and YouTube. Both of them are titled Tyler Plackey Fishing. Over there, you can kind of see what I've been up to. Keep up with me. DM me suggestions for the show, ask questions for the tackle box segment, or just chat with me. My YouTube has great videos. I do reviews on there. If you want to see the video review of an episode I do on here, it's typically going to be on there. I kind of like to do them in the same week, because then if you want to see everything, you can actually go see it too, rather than just hear about it. I also do some really cool instructional videos on there. I do some great fishing vlogs where I just go out and fish, strap the GoPro to my chest, and go catch fish. My Instagram is awesome because you guys can hop on there and see what I'm doing right now and what you can expect to come on the show on the YouTube. Typically posting stuff ahead of schedule on the Instagram rather than when this stuff comes out, so you get a little bit of a sneak preview that way. So thank you all so much for listening to the podcast every week and continuing to support it. It really does mean a ton to me. Your dedication to the show has really been awesome. Positive reviews and all the comments are really kind. I really do appreciate it. You guys are the reason we do this podcast. It's a ton of fun for me, but I love, getting to teach you guys, hopefully, give you guys some ideas. Not everything I say is worth its weight in gold, but if, one thing I say helps you to become a better angler, to catch fish, then that makes my day. So thank you guys again so much for your time and your continued support. And until next time, tight lines, y'all.